Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to tip my hat to my colleague, Congresswoman Rice. And I want to also take a little bit of a swipe at my good friend, Congressman Thompson, and his statement that you might find at the back of the room if you're in the press. It says, Republicans have failed to deliver consistent funding throughout the entirety of the project, except I'm not that good at Google. Having said that, this idea was conceived in 2006. The ground was broken in 2009, and I'm pretty sure that the 111th Congress, who was originally responsible for putting this funding forward, wasn't led by Republicans. And I could go on, but I won't, because as Ms. Rice rightly indicated, it's time to stop fixing blame and start fixing problems. So we sit here discussing the consolidation of a Department, Homeland Security, tasked with defending the American people from an emerging and dynamic set of threats that aren't even the same as we could have contemplated in 2006. And I read in this report, and these are the report's words, not mine, footnoted, quote, too much emphasis may have been placed on revitalizing neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. Where in the mandates of DHS does it say we should be revitalizing neighborhoods in Washington, D.C.? That's rhetorical. Negotiations with historic preservationists led to a 3-year delay. I note that my colleague, Mr. Thompson, fails to mention that, but it's a tragic note when we can't build an outhouse, let alone a fence across the desert, without knowing that there are going to be lawsuits. Now, none of this is targeted at you three gentlemen, but wait, because it's coming. So in 2006, a plan for consolidation emerged. Construction begins in 2009. The original estimated completion date is 2016. Then it's moved to 2021. Then it's moved to 2026. We hear, oh, it's funding, it's funding, it's funding. When I was a taxpayer and not a member of this august body, I got so sick and tired of the concept that money would solve all the problems in the world. If we can't estimate the actual cost of anything, which is what your testimony just indicated, anything accurately on the front end, then why should we even work with the numbers? What I would do as a history major, not a mathematician or an engineer, is look at cost overruns on government projects across the board, figure out what the average percentage is, and tack that crap on at the beginning so that there's a little bit of transparency and honesty for the taxpayer. But here we sit fighting with historic preservationists and revitalizing the District of Columbia's housing, which I'm not sure where it falls in the DHS mandate, but I'm pretty sure it's not there. And we got a headquarters that is designated to protect the American people from very real existential threats of death. And we're pushing numbers back from 2016 to 2021 to 2026. So here's what flummoxes me as somebody who still sort of identifies with the private sector. I'll bet you, and this question's coming, that nobody responsible for, and don't tell me about funding when there's no DHS request, none in the FY18 budget for a single dollar. And we got $135 million requested from GSA. And don't talk to me about partisan responsibility when the blood is on both sides' hands. Both sides' hands. Talk to me about who's been fired for failure to meet timelines set by law by this body. A name, one name of one person who's been held to account. Anybody been fired? Has anyone been reprimanded? One name. Has anyone responsible for meeting these deadlines, who's failed to meet these deadlines, been subsequently promoted? I mean, sometimes I wonder why we're here. And again, not targeting you three gentlemen, but at some point, again, and I would again tip my hat across the aisle to Congresswoman Rice, it is time to stop fixing blame and start fixing problems. The Department of Homeland Security should not be in the business of revitalizing D.C. neighborhoods, and we should not be building multi-billion-dollar facilities where we know that we're going to have 3-year-long delays because of historical preservationists. Consolidation, good idea. Communication, good idea. Might have saved lives on 9/11. But all this is reasonably foreseeable. Overrun on cost, it's as predictable as the swallows returning to San Juan Capistrano. How can we do it differently? I apologize for the soliloquy. But we have to change the paradigm. I want you gentlemen, please, and I mean this sincerely and with all due respect, and a lot is due, to start looking for ways to do things differently, to start looking for ways to hold people to account. When you go home at night and you know you can't be fired for failure to meet a deadline that is, in fact, the law of the land, what's your motivation, right, to steal a Hollywoodism? So, again, my tone as it relates to you three individuals who are probably not directly personally responsible, I apologize. But when we're spending DHS money to revitalize neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., God forbid there's a cascading cyber attack tomorrow. God forbid that there's some sort of unconventional terror attack involving chemical or biological threats that might have been precluded had we had consolidation and communication across lines tomorrow. Because who do we have to blame? And I say we, not you, us. We have us to blame. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please, I don't want to do this again in 5 years. They were doing this in 2013. I don't want to do this again in 2022, 2023. I don't. Thank you.
How fortuitous. The chair thanks the gentleman and now recognizes the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Estes.